Ever notice how truly consistent people never talk about motivation? They don't wait for inspiration. They don't search for the perfect moment. They simply show up and act. While others wait to feel ready, these people have already trained, studied, and executed. Their secret isn't emotion, it's identity. Centuries ago, in 10th century Japan, there was a concept that separated ordinary men from legends: Yamato Damashii, the Japanese spirit. It wasn't about strength or intelligence. It was the force that pushed warriors forward, even when their minds wanted to quit. A spirit built on duty over emotion. Today, you're going to learn how this ancient idea can transform you from someone who knows to someone who acts. Before we dive in, remember this. There are two kinds of motivation: cheap excitement and the real one. Your ikigai, the reason you act. If you're ready to stop delaying your goals, subscribe, like the video, and comment below. What's the action you keep postponing, even though you know exactly what to do? Let's build a community that empowers each other to grow. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. The Man Who Knew Everything But Did Nothing. Japan, year 950. Tadayoshi, a 24-year-old noble, had read more books than men twice his age. While other nobles spent their days in music and parties, he buried himself in Chinese classics, Buddhist teachings, and war philosophy. He dreamed of becoming a legendary warrior, maybe even a general who would reshape Japan. But Tadayoshi had one fatal flaw: he never acted. Every morning he promised himself, "Today I begin." And every day ended the same, lost in another book, another theory, another reason to delay. Knowledge became his cage. Servants whispered. Nobles mocked him. Tadayoshi, the warrior of books, deadly on paper, harmless in reality. The worst blow came from his father, a former military advisor. "You have the mind of a general, but the heart of a scribe. Knowledge without action is nothing. You are a ghost pretending to live." That night, Tadayoshi couldn't sleep. His father's words tore through him. He realized he had spent years studying battle, yet never once stepped onto the battlefield of real effort. And the next morning, for the first time in his life, Tadayoshi made a different choice. He didn't reach for a book. He walked out the door. Chapter 2. The Meeting in the Forest. Tadayoshi wandered through the cold morning forest, unsure whether he sought clarity or an excuse to run back to his books. Then he heard it. Metal slicing air, wood striking wood, a steady rhythm. In a small clearing he found its source, a graying man of about 50, body lined with scars, repeating a single wooden sword movement again and again. Same cut, same stance, same breath, no emotion, no drama, just pure, relentless repetition. Tadayoshi watched in awe. When the man finally paused, Tadayoshi stepped forward. "Master, please teach me." The man studied his fine clothes, his soft hands, his untested posture. "No." He turned to leave. Desperate, Tadayoshi pleaded, "I've studied Sun Tzu. I know battle strategy. I can learn quickly." The man stopped, turned back slowly and said coldly, "You know techniques? Good. Use them yourself." Then he walked on. Shame and panic surged in Tadayoshi. "Please, I need to change. I can't stay who I am." The man halted again, silent for a long moment. Without turning, he said, "You're going to give up. I won't. Everyone gives up. I'm not everyone." The man finally faced him. He saw desperation, but knew desperation fades like any feeling. Still, maybe this young noble needed a chance to prove himself. "Tomorrow, before sunrise, here. If you show up, I'll consider teaching you. If you don't, never return." Tadayoshi nodded quickly. "I'll be here, I promise." The man almost sneered. Promises, as if they mean anything. Chapter 3. The First Day. Tadayoshi didn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the man's voice. "You're going to give up." Not this time. He reached the clearing an hour before dawn, freezing in the dark. When sunlight finally touched the trees, the man appeared silently, like a ghost. "You came. Not praise, just fact. Today we see if you have more than words," the man said. What followed was pure hell. The man, now known as Kaido, gave him a single task, a basic stance, knees bent, back straight, wooden sword extended, the foundation of everything. "How long?" "Until I tell you to stop." Within minutes, Tadayoshi's legs shook violently. Sweat dripped. His entire body screamed to quit. "Master, Silence," Kaido said coldly. "Your mind lies. It wants comfort, not strength." By the 15-minute mark, Tadayoshi collapsed. His legs trembled uncontrollably. He looked at Kaido, hoping for a hint of encouragement. Instead, he received a knife of truth. 15 minutes and you break? Go home. You're not made for this." Something inside Tadayoshi cracked or awakened. He forced himself back to his feet. "No, I'll do it again." Kaido studied him, unimpressed. "You think motivation will save you? Your anger will vanish by tomorrow." "I'll come back," Tadayoshi insisted. "Why?" Kaido asked. Tadayoshi opened his mouth, but had no answer. Wanting to be a warrior, shame, frustration, those were just emotions. Emotions die. Kaido turned to leave. "Wait," Tadayoshi shouted. "Then tell me, why should I come back?" Kaido looked him dead in the eyes. "Because it is your duty." "Duty? To who?" "To yourself. To the man you claimed you wanted to become. Motivation is a feeling. Duty is a command. Feelings shift. Duty stands in the storm." Kaido took a step, then paused. "We Japanese have a word for it. Yamato Damashii, the Japanese spirit. It's not about wanting to do it. It's about doing it because it's who you are." Chapter 4, the second day and the first lesson. Tadayoshi returned the next morning, not out of desire, but duty. His entire body ached. His legs barely held him, but Kaido's words echoed in his mind. Duty remains even in the storm. Kaido stood waiting. This time, there was no disappointment in his eyes, only recognition. "You're back. I said I would be. Yesterday you said it with emotion. Today you say it with pain. Which one lasts?" Tadayoshi breathed heavily. "Today." Kaido nodded. "Yesterday was motivation. Today is duty. Motivation fades. Duty stays." He put Tadayoshi into the same painful stance as the day before, but this time, Kaido spoke. "Yamato Damashii is not a feeling. It's an action. You do it until it becomes who you are." As Tadayoshi struggled, Kaido asked, "What did you learn from all your books?" "Strategies, formations. And did that make you a warrior?" Silence. Pain. "No." "Why?" "Because I never acted." Kaido nodded. "Partly correct. Knowledge matters. The classics teach strategy. But there's an old truth. Knowledge is useless without Yamato Damashii." Tadayoshi's legs trembled violently. "You can know how to win every battle on Earth," Kaido continued, "but if you lack the spirit to step onto the battlefield, that knowledge is worthless. Yamato Damashii turns knowledge into action. It keeps you moving when everything in you wants to stop." Tadayoshi collapsed. 20 minutes. 5 more than yesterday. Kaido nodded. "Progress. Not because you're stronger. Your body is actually weaker than yesterday. You progressed because you finally learned this. Pain is not the enemy. Hesitation is." Centuries later, a Tokyo researcher studying samurai culture would explain Yamato Damashii the same way. Chinese theory gave knowledge, valuable, brilliant knowledge. But without the spirit to act, it was sterile. The difference between knowing how to swim and actually stepping into the water. Chapter 5. The Lesson of the River. On the third day, Tadayoshi arrived at dawn, barely standing but determined. Kaido didn't take him to the clearing this time. "Today," he said, "you'll learn the difference between doing something when you feel like it and doing it because you must." He led Tadayoshi to a fast, freezing river and pointed to a lone rock in the center. "Stand there in fighting stance until I tell you otherwise." Tadayoshi stepped into the icy water, sharp as knives, and climbed onto the rock, slipping, catching himself, trembling. He held his stance. 5 minutes, shaking. 10 minutes, numb. 15 minutes, panic rising. His entire body screamed to escape. "Master, I can't!" Kaido's voice thundered across the water. "Your ancestors stood bleeding on battlefields. They marched on broken legs, and you can't face cold water? Why must I do this?" Tadayoshi cried. "Because it is your duty," Kaido roared. "You swore to become a warrior. A declaration demands duty, not comfort." Tadayoshi closed his eyes. Tears mixed with the river. He remembered the noble's mockery, warrior of books, and his father's harsh truth. The mind of a general, the heart of a scribe. That man was dying here, in this river. The cold didn't fade, the pain didn't lessen, but something inside him shifted. He stopped resisting. He accepted the cold. He accepted the duty. "I'm here because I choose to be. I stay because I must." Time blurred. Eventually Kaido shouted, "Enough! Get out!" Tadayoshi stumbled from the river, barely able to walk. Kaido guided him to a fire. 45 minutes, Kaido said. Tadayoshi stared in disbelief. Kaido continued, "For the first 15 minutes, you fought the discomfort. That drained you. Then you accepted it, and everything changed. The cold didn't soften. You hardened." He placed another log on the fire. This is Yamato Damashii, not the absence of feelings, but refusing to let feelings decide your actions. You felt cold. You wanted to leave, but you stayed because duty does not negotiate. Chapter 6. The Master explains the origin. That night, Kaido let Tadayoshi return home early, but first they sat by the river, listening to the rushing water. "Do you know why I'm teaching you Yamato Damashii?" Kaido asked. Tadayoshi shook his head. "Because you're exactly the kind of man this was meant to save." Kaido gazed at the stars. Centuries ago, our elite studied Chinese classics, Buddhism, Confucianism, strategy, philosophy. Brilliant men, but many were like you. They knew everything and did nothing. Knowledge without soul, theory without action. Our ancestors realized they needed a word to separate the men who only knew from the men who actually did. It wasn't enough to have knowledge. You needed Yamato Damashii, the native spirit, the soul that makes you act even when you don't want to. It wasn't about rejecting foreign wisdom. Knowledge is the tool, spirit is the craftsman. You can have the finest sword in the world, but if you lack the courage to wield it, it's just metal. Tadayoshi absorbed every word. The truth those ancients discovered, Kaido continued, is that practical wisdom, the ability to act under pressure, to solve problems, to do what must be done, doesn't come from books. It comes from doing, from showing up, from fulfilling your duty when every part of you wants to run. Yamato Damashii is the difference between the scholar who debates war and the warrior who fights it, between the poet who writes about courage and the man who acts with courage, between you 3 days ago and you now. Chapter 7. The Great Temptation. Week 2. Tadayoshi had made progress. He could hold the poses longer. His body was learning to obey. But the true test came with the full moon festival, music, poetry, sack, and all the elite of the city. He was invited. That night, sleep eluded him, not from excitement but conflict. 7 days of relentless training, Could one night of pleasure really hurt? He deserved it, right? Morning came. Tadayoshi didn't appear in the clearing. Kaido waited, watching the sun rise. He didn't come. He was home, asleep, hungover, guilt crushing him the moment he woke. After all the promises, he had broken down. The next day, Tadayoshi expected Kaido to be gone, disappointed forever. But Kaido was there, face not angry but sad. "You missed it," Kaido said quietly. I'm sorry. Please let me continue," Tadayoshi pleaded. "No," Kaido said firmly. "You chose comfort over duty, pleasure over promise. You still don't understand, Yamato Damashii. You think it's about doing things when it's convenient." Tadayoshi begged for one more chance. Kaido turned. "Do you understand now? Then explain. What is Yamato Damashii?" Tadayoshi inhaled, recalling the cold river, the agony of the stances, the endless hours of pain. "It's doing it even when you don't want to." Partly correct. Deeper. He closed his eyes. The truth hit him. It's not just action, it's identity. It's who you are. When I break it, I'm not breaking a habit. I'm betraying the man I declared myself to be. Kaido was silent. Then, "Now you're beginning to understand. Yesterday you chose pleasure. Today you must accept consequence. Every choice has a price. Yesterday's price is paid today." What Kaido did next shattered Tadayoshi completely. He held the pose for 2 hours straight. No mercy. Trembling, crying, every muscle screaming. "This pain," Kaido said, "you chose it yesterday. Breaking your duty doesn't erase consequence. You only postpone it, and it will come back worse." In that moment, Tadayoshi realized the truth that would change everything. The problem was never knowing what to do. The problem was that he had been playing the wrong game. Chapter 8. Identity, not action. The next day, Kaido taught differently. No physical drills, just words, drawing in the dirt. "Do you think discipline is doing hard things?" he asked. "It is not. Discipline is being someone for whom hard things are non-negotiable. I should train creates distance. I am someone who trains leaves no choice. It's identity, not desire." Tadayoshi felt a shift in his mind. So Yamato Damashii isn't forcing action. Exactly. Kaido smiled for the first time in weeks. It's about embodying an identity so fully that action flows naturally. You stop asking, "Should I?" and simply do it because it's who you are. The great warriors of the past didn't debate training. That question didn't exist. They were warriors. Warriors train. Kaido continued, "Your problem with books wasn't knowledge. You identified as a scholar who wanted to be a warrior, not a warrior who studies. Do you see the difference?" Tadayoshi did, for the first time. "In the months ahead," Kaido said, "I will teach you to change your identity, not through thought, but through repetition so relentless that body and mind have no choice but to accept. You are no longer who you were." Chapter 9. The Transformation. The following months were brutal, but something fundamental shifted in Tadayoshi. He stopped negotiating with himself. Kaido taught him a simple rule: decide once, act 1,000 times. Tadayoshi chose who he was, not who he wanted to be, and for 90 days he lived as that person without question. No exceptions, no excuses. Too tired. Didn't exist. Not today. Didn't exist. He was a warrior. Warriors train. And he trained. By week 6, he woke before his alarm, his body already preparing. By week 8, thought itself had vanished. He simply showed up. Kaido watched with quiet satisfaction. "See, your brain finally accepted it. You're not forcing it anymore. It flows." The true test came on day 63. Fever, aches, mind fogged. Every part of him whispered to rest. Yet he rose anyway and staggered to the clearing. Kaido saw him and said simply, "You're sick." "I am," Tadayoshi replied. "But that's who I am." Kaido's smile broke across his face, pride, genuine and unrestrained. "Now you understand. Yamato Damashii isn't strength. It's being unshakable, not in power, but in identity. You came because you cannot not come. You've changed." Tadayoshi returned home. Rest no longer felt like weakness. It was strategy. Warriors rest to fight tomorrow. The weak rest to avoid the fight. The difference: intention, identity, purpose. Chapter 10, the final lesson. Day 90. 3 months of relentless training had transformed Tadayoshi. His body was stronger, his hands calloused, but the real change was invisible. Kaido sat him down. Yamato Damashii was never about training. It was death and rebirth. The Tadayoshi who arrived here, he died. Every day you chose duty over comfort, you killed him and were reborn. Books gave knowledge, but without a soul, knowledge is dead. Yamato Damashii is the spirit that animates theory into action, intention into reality. Kaido led him to an open field where 20 armed soldiers waited. "I'm recommending you?" Tadayoshi asked. "No," Kaido said. "I'm giving you your duty. You've learned to be a warrior. Now teach others, not through books, but through identity, through Yamato Damashii." "I'm not ready," Tadayoshi whispered. "No one is," Kaido replied. "Warriors don't wait to be ready. They show up. Now you know." Kaido explained why Yamato Damashii mattered. Knowledge without action is worthless. The Chinese classics gave strategy, but without the spirit to act, it was dead. Yamato Damashii completes knowledge. It turns I know into I do. It's not culture, not nationality. It's the union of intellect and experience. Theory becomes practice. Thought becomes action. Chapter 11. 5 years later. 5 years on, Tadayoshi commanded 300 soldiers. He had won battles, yes, but more importantly, he had taught them Yamato Damashii. His soldiers weren't the strongest, but they executed without hesitation, without question. A young recruit reminded Tadayoshi of himself, smart, studious, but paralyzed by fear. "You have knowledge without a soul," Tadayoshi said. "Knowledge tells you what to do. Yamato Damashii makes you do it. Come tomorrow before sunrise, and I will teach you what no book can teach." Centuries later, Yamato Damashii was twisted during militaristic propaganda, turned into blind nationalism, but the original truth remained. It's not about competing with others, it's about defeating the version of yourself that hesitates, that plans but doesn't act. Every time you choose duty over feeling, you live Yamato Damashii. Chapter 12. The Final Secret. You don't need to be a samurai or Japanese to use Yamato Damashii. Motivation is a lie. It fades. Yamato Damashii works like this. Declare identity, not intention. Don't say, "I should work out." Say, "I am someone who trains." Duty is non-negotiable. Identity has no days off. Embrace pain. Breaking comfort is necessary for growth. Turn knowledge into action. Study alone won't change you. Execution will. Consistency beats intensity. Transformation comes from showing up every day, no excuses. Kaido's last lesson: knowing when to pause isn't breaking Yamato Damashii. Rest strategically to serve your greater purpose, not to avoid challenge. Yamato Damashii with wisdom is mastery. Blind repetition is fanaticism. Discipline isn't a prison. It's the freedom to act without negotiation. Tadayoshi's story ends, but the truth survives. Knowledge without Yamato Damashii is dead. Knowledge with it transforms life. You don't need motivation. You need identity. You need the version of yourself who simply is, someone who acts without question, who turns theory into reality. This is Yamato Damashii, the bridge between dreaming and living, between knowing and doing.